Siblings, please reach out your hands and pray for me. Most High, we ask that you will speak with your voice and we will hear with your. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Come to me, all you that labor and are burdened, I will rest. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. There are no rules about standing, sitting, and alone. You may do what feels good to you. May Christ be with you.
And also with you.
A reading from the Good News according to the book of Matthew. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountainside, and after he sat down, and the disciples had gathered around, Jesus began to teach them. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit, the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Blessed are those who are mourning, they will be consoled. Blessed are those who are gentle, they will inherit the land. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, they will have their fill. Blessed are those who show mercy to others, they will be shown mercy. Blessed are those whose hearts are clean, they will see God. Blessed too are those who work for peace, they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of their struggle for justice. The kingdom of heaven is theirs. You are fortunate when others insult you or persecute you and utter every kind of slander against you because of me. Be glad and rejoice, for your reward in heaven is great. They persecuted the prophets before you in the very same way. This is the gospel of Christ.
Praise to you, O Christ.
All saints and all souls. So we've got the angels encircling the thrones and the elders and the four living creatures, and they're all prostrating themselves before the throne. Yes, the Revelation's apocalyptic, some say should be apocryphal scenes. Did you know that the prophet Daniel is in the Jewish apocrypha and was pulled into our main canon mainly to parallel this text? But we have these visuals that are so evocative, holy beings gathered around a throne. Clearly, this imagery appeals to humans. Here, too, I like my Lewisian heresies. Go further up, go further in. All is sweeter and brighter and more one. Then we get to Psalm 24. Who has the right to go up our God's hill? Who is allowed to enter our God's table? Those who are pure in act and in thought, who do not worship idols or make false promises. Our God will bless them. God, their Savior, will declare them innocent. Such are the people who come to God, who come into the presence of God. Oh God, this is the people who long to see your face. My only note here is to remind you that we are declared innocent by our very loving God and by our very turning toward when we realize we've turned away. Then in 1 John 3, we see Abba God lavishing on us, calling us God's children. And remember, Abba is Papa. It's a very, very intimate term. One of the weirdest things about the power grab that's been done to the church for centuries is when thee and thou got mistaken for formality as opposed to the intimacy of a close family relationship. We should thee Lois. We should thee each other. That is the relationship when we thee and thou God. And it goes on to say that we know that when it comes to light, we will be like God, for we will see God as God really is. All who keeps this hope keeps themselves pure, just as Christ is pure. And this reading also doesn't need anything more than me pointing out what's there, that keeping us pure is done just by keeping the hope. That will come to light, come to be like God, see God as God's own reality and become whole in that. And then we get to Matthew. We've got the Beatitudes. Blessed and blessed and blessed and blessed. Your hard times, your tough times are blessed. your struggles, your torments are blessed because you're not alone in it. Because we have that companionship. And because we are walking in the kingdom of heaven when we do what we know we should for the well-being of people. And you've heard me acknowledge the times we're in, the struggles we face and feel. Tuesday and the weeks and months after, they loom pretty large. And so I ask you to turn toward your saints and to know whose footprints you tread in, whose example you follow, and to know the strengths and wisdoms of your ancestors. And yeah, you probably heard the capitalization there. And I don't just mean our physical ancestors. I draw strength from Dunstan down through the centuries. I draw strength too from examples of people who never were, but whose stories inspired me. You can share this page. So when I was talking about saints and Lewis's understanding, Julie pointed out that we needed Father O'Malley and Mary Bridget from a movie I think I watched once, so I had to go looking. And I had to put in there, oops, one of my favorite moments for the Disney Friar Tuck when he's letting the rabbit family out of their chains, and Father Mulcahy, and Shepherd Book, because this is me. I continue to be inspired by beings who aren't real. And that's not exactly new for me. The Mass of Brother Michel. It's a rather obscure book from a rather long time ago. And it's about God accepting even somebody whose body was horribly broken so that the church thought he couldn't be a priest until he was the only priest left when the Huguenots came to town. And St. Camber less than Erlin. But you know, those examples of struggling to be a priest with integrity when your community is under persecution, for some reason spoke to me and still speak to me. And that inspiration is valid too, right? I mean, we know that our physical saints didn't always get it right. Down through the ages, we don't get it right. That's part of being human. And I personally have to say that I don't find it inspiring that the prophets too were persecuted. That's not what I really need to hear. But I do find it inspiring that whatever price I pay for speaking love and grace, I choose to be an example just doing that. Hoping that in the generations that follow, some of that love and grace will seep into their bones as they face their struggles and fears. And I want to take a minute and tell you what I learned being taken under the wing of a ragtag bunch of Two-Spirit natives, city Indians in the 90s. I got a lot of plains teaching that way, even though I'm a Cherokee. But, you know, you learn what you're around. And they taught me about 7 generations thinking. And we take strength and challenges from 7 generations back. And funny, but epigenetics has actually finally proven that we were right. And what we do and who we are is going to continue 7 generations into the future. And we have some control over what example we not only show people, but what we put into their bones and their lives. And I'm going to remind you of our fictional saints, and I'm going to remind you of the ones you didn't have genetic contact with who still inspired you. And know that that passes down too. There's a soul level of epigenetics. There's a soul level of teaching and carrying on. Madeline Lengel's faith helped inspire mine, and I've never met the lady. And what I want us to think about is what example, what hope, humility, joy we can provide to the people that see our example and follow on after us. whether they're our blood or not. How we can be, as startling as it is to think about, an inspirational thing to someone. Someone like those we've named in our book today. Because we're all going to be ancestors, spiritually or physically. And we can choose what we give to pass on. And that sometimes helps keep me on a good path and walking in a good way. When I don't feel like it for me, sometimes I feel like it for them. So that's what I want us to talk about right now. What can we leave them? And who can we be for them in these hard times?